And joining us now is Kevin Kinkead, Union beat writer for SoccerLeague.com. He's also a producer here at CBS 3. And we are also joined by Jonathan Tannenwald from Philly.com. Thanks, guys, for joining us.
It's good to be here.
We're going to start with the Union. Okay, they finally won a game. How important was that, Kev?
Yeah, it was pretty critical. They needed to win. You know, especially coming off back-to-back losses where you gave up 4 goals to Los Angeles, you gave up 5 goals to New England. And those came off the heels of a good win that they had in Kansas City, you know, a week before that. So they absolutely needed it. They couldn't get any other result because they needed 3 points there. They need 3 points now from the Vancouver game going into the World Cup because, you know, the problem is they're not that far out of the playoffs right now. They're only like 2 or 3 points out of a playoff position, but they've played so many more games than everybody else right now. So the problem is you're going to hit the World Cup break is going to come. All these other teams that are behind you right now, they're going to start playing these catch-up games, and they're going to start gaining ground on. So they don't have a big margin of error here.
What do you think the problem is with the Union right now, John?
It's funny you talk about how badly they need this win. They play at their best when their backs are against the wall.
Yeah. The
problem is their backs are against the wall too often.
All the time, yeah.
You know, I think we've both seen it. It's made them a little nervous sometimes. They aren't playing the kind of creative and open soccer I think we thought we'd see when they signed Vincent Nogueira and Christian Maidana and Maurice Adu. I got to say, though, I think that win saved John Hackworth's job because I sure do.
That's my next question. What's going to happen?
It very well might have, and I, you know, like John said, they have this underdog back against the wall kind of thing. They play well on the road. They play well when they haven't been playing well. When adversity is going against them, they can't seem to get that to translate to playing at home in front of their own fans, in front of the Sons of Ben, in front of all those people down there. The performances haven't been consistent. You know, as far as the talk about John and his job security. You know, they went out and they had a great offseason. They signed the players that they did. They spent money. They did things that they haven't been doing. But you know, the results aren't there. The results aren't there.
Right.
You know, there's just been too much inconsistency up top. You know, they traded Jack McInerney. They wanted to stay with the 4-3-3, so they traded for Andrew Wenger. He hasn't really scored a lot of goals. Jack, I think, has scored 5 goals.
Was that a mistake?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Because Jack McInerney needed to grow up a little bit. And I think that getting him out of here, getting him out of his comfort zone, got him to do that.
Yeah,
and I think once he got to Montreal, he realized that he really had to step it up.
But I think it was also the system, too. You know, Jack scored a bunch of goals last year when they played 4-4-2.
Yes.
And then John comes out and says, we're going to change the system. We're going to play 4-3-3 this year. And Jack's skill set wasn't necessarily the best, the best fit for that. So, you know, they traded him before going back and trying that old formation that he was successful in. They converted a forward to center back, Aaron Wheeler. That hasn't worked out. They haven't had any consistency in defense. So from front to back, Zach McMath and Vincent Nogueira have been the best players on the team this year. That's about it.
All right. Let's talk about the World Cup and Team USA. You were at the game today. Your impressions so far?
Well, let me give an overall impression, first of all, because I've been covering soccer for a bit of a while now. And I've gone to a lot of U.S. national team games over the years in places like New York and Washington and Chicago, where they play a team with a big immigrant population and the crowd is 50-50 at best. Today, in New York, the most diverse city probably in the country, one of the biggest city in the country, 95% of that crowd was pro-USA, houseless rocking the whole time, singing Seven Nation Army and all the other songs. Not just the American Outlaws, the whole stadium. It was a lot of fun to be there.
Okay, well, can they get the job done in Brazil?
Well, what's getting the job done? That's the question.
No, they have. Everybody was saying when the draw came out, it's the group of death, right? You know, so you got Portugal. The first game's against Ghana. The second game is against Portugal. They're going to play out in the Amazon rainforest for the most part. Then they play Germany. You know, of course, the head coach is German, playing against his former team. So there's all kinds of storylines here. I think Ghana is beatable. You know, it's not like when they lost to Ghana in 2006, when they lost to Ghana in 2010, it's not like they were blown out or they weren't competitive in those games. There was a questionable penalty kick call. There's some other stuff that went against them. So I think that game's winnable. I think they can beat Portugal. Portugal's got the best player in the world.
Here's the thing about this that I love.
Beyond that,
what I love about the way this group sets up, and the one way I think the U.S. has a chance to advance, they have to beat Ghana. And they all know to a man on that team that they've got to do it. They are really motivated to get They are really motivated to get revenge on this team.
Based on what happened.
That has knocked them out of the last 2 World Cups.
Yeah.
They do that. Germany's playing Portugal in their first game. Germany wins that game.
Let them duke it out in that first game. The most winnable game you have is your first game. So if they don't get off on the right foot, then they're behind the 8 ball for the rest of the tournament.
Beat Ghana. Hope that Germany beats Portugal. Portugal has a history of cracking a little bit on the big stage. Especially Cristiano Ronaldo, as famous as he is, doesn't play well in World Cups. If they've got all the pressure on them, who knows?
They struggled to qualify.
Right.
They did. They weren't exactly killing it, in the qualifiers. They had to play a playoff against Ukraine, France,
Sweden.
Yes, they had to play a playoff against Sweden just to get into the World Cup.
Were you guys surprised that Landon Donovan did not make it?
Yes.
No.
Yeah. You weren't?
No.
You weren't surprised?
Here's why I wasn't happy, but I wasn't surprised. Jurgen Klinsmann has been sending signals about this for a long time.
Yeah, he has. Yeah.
Klinsmann just doesn't like Donovan. He wants guys who give 150%.
Landon took a sabbatical. He took like a sabbatical last year.
Yeah.
He wasn't in it.
Which, by the way, he needed because he'd been going to England in the MLS offseason for 3 straight years, and his body was shot.
He hadn't had a break in forever. Yeah.
I'm going to make a Philly sports analogy here, Kevin. Tell me what you think of it.
No.
Some folks, guys like Cole Hamels, for example, who I think is a great pitcher, but there's some guys in town who just don't like him because they don't think he's this, all-out effort, hustle, grit kind of player. I kind of think Jurgen Klinsmann sees Landon Donovan the same way.
Yeah. But it was surprising. Right. My only problem with it was you're going to let a guy like Julian Green come in who's 18 years old who really hasn't proved anything in the USA kit. And you're going to say to these guys who went to Honduras and Guatemala and Belize and all these places, hey, thanks for coming down here and playing through all these difficult games and difficult conditions. We're going to take the 18-year-old kid instead. So is the World Cup the place to do that? I don't know. But you have to pass the torch eventually. Was now the right time? That's what I don't know.
Landon Donovan is such a clutch player for the United States. He's a big game player in a way that very few other American players are.
Absolutely.
And when you leave him out, I wanted to watch coming into today, going into the U.S.'s next game against Nigeria. Can that offense really flow? Can they score the goals in the big moments? Because if you don't take it, you open yourself up to the possibility that maybe he's not doing everything to win at this World Cup. Maybe he's playing a little bit for the future. And I don't think the fan base really accepts that.
Not exactly a 76ers comparison, but, people were saying, we're looking forward to 2018 instead of 2014. That was it.
All right, real quick. Who wins the World Cup?
Brazil.
Oh,
Brazil,
boy.
Yeah. Brazil stormed through the Confederations. They stormed through the Confederations Cup last year. They beat Spain 3-0 in the final. They're playing at home, but they do have a lot of pressure on them to perform. That's the only thing.
They have an immense amount of pressure. I think they're probably the favorites, and yet the home team doesn't win the World Cup all that often. France in '98 was really the exception rather than the rule.
Yeah, it was.
I'd love to see Argentina win it because of Lionel Messi. I think he's the best player in the world. This ought to be his stage to bring it home, but
I think it's South America.
I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's going to come out of South America, definitely. It's their World Cup, and they're so amped for it.
All right, thanks, guys. Where can we follow you on Twitter?
At the goalkeeper.
At Kevin K, CBS 3.
All right. Still ahead in the Lexus Sports Zone. Winner take all in a Game 7 between the Blackhawks and Kings. The winner goes to the Stanley Cup Finals. And we have a rematch in the NBA. LeBron James, Tim Duncan, Spurs and Heat doing battle once again. We have more when the Zone continues.